Sometimes life presents us with challenges that seem insurmountable, moments in which hope and faith are put to the test in a silent, almost invisible way. It is in these moments that we feel a deep need for connection, to recognize that even in solitude or turbulence, there are invisible forces that accompany, support, and guide us. These are moments in which a word, a message charged with love, can transform our entire perspective, awakening a courage that seemed lost and a light that illuminates the dark path. Perhaps you are going through a phase of doubts, of uncertainty about the future, or feeling a silent anguish that you cannot fully explain. This feeling of being alone, even surrounded by people, of seeking answers that seem beyond your reach, is more common than you might think. And just in those moments, a sincere connection to something bigger can make all the difference. Imagine a moment when, even in the distance or in the hectic routine, a message of maternal love comes to you, charged with sincerity and care. A message that transcends ordinary words, that touches your heart in a way that only those who truly know the love of a mother can do. This message often comes as a gift from angels, a divine intervention that brings peace, hope, and renewed strength. It can calm internal storms, strengthen our faith in life, and remind us that we are not alone in our journey. Many people feel this subtle presence, almost like a whisper that comes from the universe, an orientation that appears exactly at the right time, exactly in their moment of greatest vulnerability or greatest search for meaning. The beauty of this connection is that it does not depend on external circumstances, but is born from a pure intention, from the heart of someone who loves us unconditionally and desires our good. A mother's message coming from the angels brings a welcoming force that transforms doubts into hope, fear into courage, sadness into faith. This special message has the power to open the heart, to awaken forgotten emotions, and to renew confidence in the life and love that surrounds us, even when everything seems to fall apart. It is like a soft light that illuminates the path, a touch of tenderness that makes all the difference in our daily experience. We know that a mother's love is a force that transcends words, and that often simple gestures carry an intensity that echoes through the years. When this message is accompanied by vibrations of angelic energy, it becomes even more powerful, establishing a bridge between heaven and earth, between the divine and the human. This message is not just an expression of words, but a true spiritual gift, a guidance that drives us forward with renewed hope and unwavering faith. It is a call for us to open our hearts, to recognize the presence of love, protection, and divine guidance in every little thing we live. Connecting with these special messages does not require great rituals or complicated words, just an open heart willing to receive love and light. Through these words, we can feel that we are protected, supported, and loved in a way that goes beyond rational understanding. And by opening our hearts to this loving message, we make room for hope and faith to flourish even in the most difficult circumstances. Thus, the journey becomes lighter, more illuminated, and the certainty that we are guided by higher forces accompanies us at every step, strengthening our faith that even in the darkness there is always a light waiting to shine. This emotional preparation, this openness to the maternal love that comes from the angels, is a unique opportunity to reconnect with the deepest essence of oneself and to realize that, even in moments of greatest vulnerability, we are supported by an invisible but deeply present force, and it is this force that sustains our dreams, our hopes, and our courage to move forward. Every word of a mother, every feeling she conveys, charged with angelic energy, has the potential to transform lives, to awaken forgotten emotions, and to open our hearts to the beauty of receiving unconditional love, one that is capable of healing, renewing and strengthening our faith in life. The depth of a message sent by angels or a mother lies not only in its words, but in the energy it carries, in the pure intention to convey protection and unconditional love. As we reflect on this, we realize that each word, each gesture, functions as a seed that, when nourished by the open heart, germinates in the soul, bringing a silent, almost imperceptible, but powerful transformation. This exchange of energies is like a delicate symphony where each vibrant note resonates at the right frequency to strengthen our spiritual senses. When we receive a message charged with good vibrations, we are actually being invited to open door after door of our interior, allowing the divine light to penetrate and clarify the areas where the shadow had lodged. In addition, it is important to recognize that this type of communication transcends the verbal realm. It also acts on the frequency of silence, on the subtle recognition that we are being supported even when everything seems silent or hopeless. Imagine that often our negative thoughts function as dense clouds, blocking the perception of all the blessings that surround us. In this scenario, a message of love can be compared to a bridge of light that crosses these clouds, revealing a starry sky of possibilities that were previously hidden. At this time, the realization that we are not alone intensifies, and we become more attentive to signs that the universe presents to us, which often seem like small coincidences, but in fact are concrete manifestations that we have an upper force taking care of us. From this perspective, it is essential to learn to recognize these signs in the details of everyday life. For example, a gentle breeze that seems to play in a special way or a recurring number that appears just when we are in need of strength. These little details function as encrypted messages from the angels or from the motherly energy itself. And the more attentive we become to these details, the more evident becomes the way the universe tries to dialogue with us. The sensitivity to pick up these signals is like a skill that can be trained, a practice of connection that goes beyond rational understanding, for its essence lies in the intuitive perception that there is something greater. Therefore, by opening your heart and being receptive to these signs, you strengthen this subtle connection, creating a kind of language of your own with the universe, where each message, no matter how small it may seem, carries a specific orientation for your personal and spiritual growth. Another layer that deserves attention is how these messages influence our future actions. When we recognize and internalize these words of love, they function as catalysts for internal change. Just like a seed that, when receiving water and light, begins to germinate, these messages tend to awaken an inner force that may have been asleep, driving a series of more conscious attitudes and aligned with our deepest purpose. In this sense, they also serve as constant reminders that we are worthy of care, peace, and harmony, and reinforce our faith in the goodwill of the universe. In this way, words of protection or teaching become seeds of hope, which, when cultivated, transform the way we experience our daily journeys. Finally, it is important to understand that each person lives in a unique way. The experience of these messages, for some, they can manifest in the plants that sprout luxuriantly in their garden. For others, in the feeling of peace that takes over the heart when listening to a melody or watching a sunset. This diversity of manifestations is proof that the divine energy adapts its messages to the rhythm and needs of each soul. Thus, there is no single way to feel or receive these signs, but rather a multitude of possibilities that enrich our connection with the divine. As we develop this sensitivity, we learn to trust intuition more, to understand that every detail is an instruction and that behind every message there is an invisible hand of love guiding us toward our truest evolution. As we contemplate the ideas already explored, we realize that they intertwine like threads of an invisible web, forming a subtle but resistant structure that sustains the deepest understanding of the relationship between the human, the divine, and the invisible forces that surround us. This network of connections reveals that our emotions, perceptions, and gestures of openness function as keys that unlock doors to experiences of faith and hope, even when logic seems hesitant or absent. The understanding that we are continually accompanied by benevolent energies, manifested by simple gestures or by delicate signs, broadens our perception that life is not a random sequence of events, but a dance coordinated by a loving intelligence, often invisible to the eye, but deeply present in the heart. In this context, the notion comes into play that our sensitivity is a bridge that connects the material to the spiritual, the everyday to the transcendent. Every moment of mindfulness, every gesture of trust acts as an invitation for these forces to work through us, transforming vulnerability into strength and doubt into conviction. Thus, this synergy between our interior and exterior reveals itself as a process of maturation, of a more open and receptive consciousness to manifestations that often seem small or insignificant, but that carry the weight of a warm and protective presence. After all, by perceiving these subtleties, a kind of seed is planted in the soul, capable of bearing fruits of hope and renewal, capable of going through the most challenging moments. The bridges that form from this understanding not only unite the previously discussed ideas, but also feed an unspoken expectation that there is always more to come, more to be discovered, more to strengthen. It is as if every sign, every gesture of love, and every moment of connection were a piece of a vast mosaic, which, when assembled, reveals an image of care, guidance, and faith that transcends the visible. In this way, the nuances of this invisible web invite us to cultivate an attitude of constant openness, a willingness to welcome what comes to us intuitively and sensitively, knowing that each experience, no matter how delicate or ephemeral it may seem, has its role in building a broader understanding of our journey. Reflecting on this walk, it becomes evident that the path is not only in the external actions or in the words we receive, but in the way we position ourselves before these subtle forces that surround us. It is a journey of enhancing our ability to perceive beyond the obvious, to trust messages that escape ordinary words, and to humbly recognize that there is a loving force that sustains us in ways we cannot always rationally explain. In this way, the connection with this deeper knowledge requires of us the courage to remain attentive, to open our hearts in a sincere way, and to nurture a relationship of respect and gratitude for all that is offered to us through these delicate but powerful manifestations. Thus, every moment of sensitivity becomes an opportunity to broaden our spiritual maturity, to strengthen our faith, and to deepen that relationship of love that silently accompanies us at every step. By interweaving these perceptions, it becomes clear that this process of awakening to the invisible forces is actually an eternal dance between what we can understand and what we must simply accept with a serene confidence. It is like learning to navigate calm and turbulent seas, always with the certainty that the center of our journey lies in the unshakable faith that we are being guided by invisible hands who know every corner of our heart. With this understanding, the next step ceases to be an uncertainty and becomes an opportunity to dive deeper into the experience of realizing that we are part of a greater whole, where every sign, every gesture of love, and every moment of openness contribute to the weaving of a fuller life, more conscious and more aligned with the divine love that sustains us.